Welcome to the Outer Fringe. Hey everybody, this is Sarah Reamer, and I am here with Brian Kenny, and we are the Outer Fringe. So welcome to our podcast. We're going to be having discussions about anything that's just basically unconventional ways of living, kind of pushing back against the society standards. So yeah, Brian.
Sarah, I can't believe you already threw my last name out there. You're just like, oh no, we're gonna put our real personas out there. When I wanted this to be some sort of like dark, mysterious. Who is Brian? Who is Sarah? And
okay, so what would
now
your
they can
last
Google
name?
us and they can Facebook us,
Yeah.
and they're gonna realize like how cool you are and that you just like brought me in
Yeah.
on this your idea because you needed like a
Okay,
stooge.
okay, dark
right?
mystery man. So what would your last name be if you were going to be like a pseudonym? Like
no,
what would
no last name, one name, Morpheus.
it would be your
Just a singular Neo, right?
well, I mean,
Caitlin. No, that's wrong.
you did tell
Sorry.
me a little bit about your superhero persona that you want to like, that vigilant anti.
Yeah.
Well, I can never say it. How do you say it? Vigilant?
Vigilante.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Because I think, vigilanteism is really well portrayed in comic books and now like movies. And why don't we have more of that? Why don't we have more? I think we've got a little bit of protest like response where, what was it? They were shooting, what's the gas at the tear gas? Yeah, they were shooting tear gas into a crowd the other day, and somebody who has a bandana over their face, right? Hood down, sunglasses so they can't be seen, is using a tennis racket to hit the tear gas back to the cops, right? And so we've got a lot of like riots, protests. We have different things that are going on in the world today where you see that the cops are being pushed by maybe the wrong mandate, or some cops are actually just really going by their own mandate instead of what's legal, and you start seeing like, wow, is justice really justice? Is the law really working out for the common man? So I think all that pushes us more into, we should be vigilantes. Why not? Why not stick up for each other, right? I would love if somebody saw something that was going on and came over and pulled out a cell phone, a camera phone, and just said like, yeah, let's make sure that this is protected. Anyways, this is,
Well, most
that's
people,
even
if they see
vigilanteism.
something, they'll pull out their phone and record it.
Mhm.
But that's because they want to upload it onto Facebook or whatever and be like, look at the shit I saw today, and do nothing about it.
Okay, but
Hide behind the phone.
I think at least recording is still an action, to have
Yeah.
because even like no one's recollection is perfect in any sort of situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then how do you get away with shit? Like if people are always carrying cell phones around, like, oh, I'm going to like mug this chick on the corner, and then 20 people pull out their cell phone and record it. It's like,
Yeah, but so much stuff is already gotten away with. You've got
Yeah.
corporations getting away with paying zero in taxes.
Right.
Or Walmart doing that, zero in taxes, and paying their wages, their workers' wages so little that all their workers, like, not all, right? I wouldn't want to talk in hyperbole, but that a lot of their workers qualify for federal assistance, right? And that's a really bad way to go. So not only are we not getting any of their tax revenue, our tax revenue is going to that. So we see actually a lot of people are getting away with a lot of stuff. And yet, because it doesn't affect the thing right in front of my cell phone camera, I don't think anything's bad,
So it's like, yeah, it's basically everybody's getting away with shit and everybody's choosing to ignore it because the knowledge is out there. Like, we all know about the corruption of the government and big business. We all have this information at our fingertips, and, not even getting into conspiracy theories, but we just choose to ignore it. And I'm going to listen to the news and, believe this bullshit story that they give us. And that's,
Never want to believe the news. It's
No.
like fear mongering is what
Right.
it is. Yeah.
it's like, oh, this person got hit and killed. And why is that relevant for everybody to hear that? Why is that relevant in my day to hear about somebody getting hit and killed? Like, tell me about something that's really going on. Like that
They
we,
won't. They
yeah.
won't. You know what I saw
Shock value.
at least twice in Facebook just recently? I scroll past and it's like another ad, and it's a political ad, and it's Bernie Sanders will take away your employee insurance, right? and it's just terrible. Like, vote for whatever Republican. And the thing is, like, yeah, he would, because he would have a nationwide single payer system, which would mean you wouldn't need insurance from your employer.
Right, because our insurance companies are really like, helping us out anyways.
Right. But Bernie Sanders is going to take away your insurance at your job. So even just the way they frame it,
it's the fear.
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't have insurance, you're not going to be safe in this world. When insurance really doesn't do anything for you anyways. I mean,
that's another side of that truth,
that's
right?
a whole other,
I love it. Like, insurance just really wants to bone everyone. And, insurance rates are like 10 times higher than they need to be. You look at all like the money that the corporations make, CEOs, everywhere else, but not just insurance. And then I think the worst part is, as an end user, like my car got hit last year by somebody who had the same insurance company, right? And they didn't even do like a complete job fixing my car, or that, like, if you have a medical procedure, then it's not like this insurance, which costs 10 times more than it should, right? They don't make sure that you are complete, whole, fixed well. They're like, you need to prove that, you need some aftercare after your fucking major surgery, because, without that extra like proof and going through hoops of doctor, going back, we don't want to say that, like, we'll give you anything more than that one chunk that they already, needed to give you, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, as a single woman and self-employed, like, when I moved here, I looked into getting health insurance, and it was so expensive. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to like throw away this money every month, and then say something happens, and I'm going to go into the doctor, and they're going to be like, oh, well, your insurance doesn't cover this or this or this or this. And it's like, and then there's the deductible, like, $10,000 deductible, because I have that laying around.
Oh, yeah, too.
It's such a, I don't know, it's a lose-lose situation. But anyways.
I think what we've really done is we've already established the establishment, right?
Yeah.
This is the role that you're supposed to be defined in. You're supposed to go to high school, complete it, go to college, complete it. You're supposed to come out, get a job, get a car, get insurance for the car, the house, your medicals, have a kid, right. do this whole, like, and especially in Idaho, where it's like, you're going to have kids by 25, or at least Massachusetts was like, get married by 35, maybe by 40.
Yeah.
It's weird for me to see even more how the generations of, I really don't want to use a negative term there. I do want to respect those people, but this like churning out the generations,
right?
Just one, and where is it all going? And so the interesting thing that we want to be doing on this podcast, which I'm kind of leading into you, Sarah, is people who do not follow that establishment. People who at some point were like, I'm going to live in my car. I'm going to work for cash when I can. I'm going to not get, employer-funded health insurance. I'm going to maybe lapse on the car insurance, and people do well with that. I know people who they pay less in cash for a doctor's visit than would have gotten billed.
Right.
They pay less in cash for, something that ever happens with their car than, would have gotten billed through insurance. And they live on this, is it the seedy underbelly of life? No, I think they get out and they see a lot more than people who stick in the same town, have the kids, still go to grandma's every summer and live this kind of like churning generational lifestyle. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Talk a little bit more about that. These adventures that people get to go on because of their different lifestyles that we're going to be looking to hear about in this podcast.
Right. And, I think we're raised too, like kind of believing in this idyllic life where, and our parents really kind of drilled this into us, like, oh, this is what worked for us. You get out of high school, you get married, you go to college, you start a family, you buy a house, and then you build equity and all the, the thing with where we're at today is like kind of, unless you have a leg up, unless you're kind of, you start off with like an inheritance, or, you have wealthy parents, or you just tend to have like that, advantage right from the get-go. Everything's a liability. Everything is an added stress. So, a lot of people who choose this lifestyle, which, some people it works for great. Like they're just, they get out of college, they get the great job, they start their family and it works out wonderfully. But there's a lot of people that start off and they're just in over their head and they just keep burying themselves deeper and deeper and deeper. And it gets to a point where your quality of life isn't there. You're dreading getting up in the morning. You're dreading going to work. You're dreading, just the hassle in the everyday life. And, I think the people that don't resonate with that lifestyle and kind of figure that out before they get themselves into, the hole, they're just really leading interesting lives. Like, because it's not easy. It's not an easy path. It's not like, oh, I'm going to follow my dreams, so everything's going to work out. There's the same type of hardship, but at the end of the day, you're like, you have that realization that, oh, I'm doing what I want to be doing. I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I want to. And, like ever since I was young, I knew that just the whole idea of your, standard way of living, like doing that whole like process of going to college, getting out of college, getting married, having kids, buying the house, all this stuff, it just didn't feel right for me. I knew that it wasn't something that I was meant to do, but it still is hard sometimes. I see my friends having this lifestyle and succeeding and finding happiness, or so it seems. And then, every now and then I'll have someone kind of pull me aside and be like, God, I wish I had your life. You just are free. You can go wherever you want. But the problem is like, even when it seems like that, we're still shackled to the system we live in a certain regard. Like I'm still shackled to the idea, like I have to pay bills every month. I have to take care of myself. I have to buy things and survive in this society. And I still have stress. And, I love the idea of living in a van in the middle of nowhere and living off the land. And, the idea of it is so romantic and, it seems so great. But there isn't a path that doesn't involve hardship. But I think the thing we're starting to see more and more of now is that there's so many people that are really pursuing that different path. And there are people that are failing, but there are people that are succeeding. And even the people that fail, it can at least say, I tried. And that's amazing.
So I think those people offer a real different perspective on life, right? And first off, I think one thing that you said was choice. And that brought up something with me because I know a lot of people that we're going to be bringing on to this show in the future didn't really have choice. It was because of what was going on in their lives at home when they were young, or because of, some other hardship, right? They were kind of forced into doing something different, right? And getting out of the normal mode that we are projected to do. So, I don't know if we can really talk about choice where it's more like, this is what I had to do in order to find a way to live.
But
right?
Don't you feel like those people that went through that hard, like pushed into that direction, like having that hardship of like whatever environment they grew up in or getting into that spot where they're like, I have to do this. It's really just pushing them more into their purpose.
It could be. Yeah. No, that's another way to look at it. And the other thing is like, when I get to talk to people, I get to sit down with them and they've, broken out of the mold in whatever way that we're looking to interview, we're looking to get some of their stories. I think what they really bring is this outside perspective,
Right.
What did they gain from it? What did they learn by trying to live in a different way? And so the musician that we're going to be coming on with pretty soon, lived going in his car going around the country for a year and a half. And so, yeah, that is a hardship. That is, something that people might negatively looked down on, but he gained a lot of outside perspective and his experience of not only going to a lot of locations, but meeting a lot of different people and being put into a lot of different situations that wasn't the like same 9-to-5 grind that we have. So, you know, I kind of want to honor the perspectives of people that come in and got to see, you know, there's so much out there. Even in my travels, I've seen that there's so much that I didn't know until I went and started looking. So I only have a little bit of understanding of how much else is out there, how much other stories, other, you know, ways of looking at the world, other ways of, you know, dealing with the world, right? Hell, I didn't even know that people were like going down to California to trim a weed until a couple of years ago. But there was this whole like subculture of people who were just living on cash, right? Going to California, trimming weed for a long time before it became this like new popular thing when weed started getting legalized. But it was a really good like cash-based society and a way to live kind of outside the norm,
right.
You know, like,
there's a freedom in that.
Yeah.
There's a freedom. I mean, we have, you know, this fear of, you know, a lot of people do. And I know I'm one of them from time to time where it's like, everybody craves security or safety or feeling secure in their surroundings. And when you push yourself out of that and you find that freedom, it helps you grow.
Yeah. You know, what's hard for me to do right now is to have stability. So I've done that like traveler lifestyle too. And I've got my own experiences there. And as kind of exciting as it was, I felt like, you know, I kind of got used to it, dropping into a new town, making new friends, finding new places, crashing for a bit and then moving on. Whereas like there's some real goals that I have in my life where I want from stability. And so stability becomes the hard thing for me. How do I become a stable person and, you know, move away from this vagabond that I really enjoyed that lifestyle and, you know, coming into saying like, okay, can I get a 9-to-5? Can I even start looking to something like that is going to engage me the same way that I want to be engaged by doing different exciting things here and there?
Right. And once you've had a taste of that, and I think for people who resonate with that, like they try that lifestyle out and they're like, oh, this feels right. And then they try to go back into that real structured militant type of schedule. It's painful.
Yeah.
It's painful. And like, it doesn't feel stable. It feels completely unstable because you emotionally and mentally don't feel stable in that environment because you always feel like you're on the brink of a breakdown because of that stagnancy in your life. I feel like that for me is a big thing.
It's easier for me to be connected to the people that are around me. When it's like, okay, we're doing something invigorating, exciting, new, and I seek that. And so then that's where the hard part for me is with stability, because my brain just like, no, this is the same thing we did last Monday and the Monday before that and every Monday before this, and now this is like the Tuesday thing, and I've got these like schedules and appointments that I have to do on Wednesday and a certain client I go to every Thursday, and like that stress, a little bit of that stress helps me, but a lot of that is like I want to grow and I want to do something bigger, and then it's hard to do that. And I know people that are in the really good corporate life. Like I have a couple cousins that are lawyers, and they're both fantastic. But for everything that they do in their professional life, and you know the money they get, so they can live in the places that they work. Like, you know, New York City is really expensive. They're just stuck in that same thing.
Yeah,
like,
the wheel.
Yeah, in that wheel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, I you know, I think it's really cool that you're you know, kind of these upper echelon positions of corporate America, and the work that it took to get there, but it does not look attractive to me. Right. You know?
And then you wrap up, a lot of these people wrap up their whole identity with that. Mm-hmm. So then you see like, you know, people retiring at some point, and then they're like, I don't even know who I am. My whole identity was this, and I never really took the time to explore who I am as a person and what I desire and what I'm passionate about. And, you know, for some people that works. Some people are happy with that lifestyle, and, you know, but yeah, you also see that other flip side where it's like they don't know their identity outside of that. So they've just wrapped up their whole self into that one thing.
Yeah, of course, when you spend that much time or, and being a parent, if you have a steady job and you're a parent, wow, that is your identity because that takes all the time. One thing that I was talking with you on the way over with was how I really want to see in America, around the world, but I would really like to see more of a way for humans to tell stories. Mm-hmm. And what I was talking about with Sarah earlier was I'm not worried about robots taking over menial jobs. Like I got nothing against anybody who pushes a broom or does a basic warehouse job. I think that's respectable. But I do want to see that if those kind of jobs are taken over by robots, how do you actually give those people the opportunity to do something more, right? And so I don't want to look down on it, but I want to say what if they could tell stories, right? What if they could be part of this creative side of humanity where we need more artists, we need more singers, we need more band members, we need more people who are, I was talking about making video games and movies and, whatever it is that is humanity. Humanity is our stories, we're not looking at, besides the basic engineering feats of the pyramids, we're looking at the stories that were told by the hieroglyphics, how did humans live? So how can we increase that capacity? Because in the future we are going to have robots that mop the floors. Right.
So we need to be engaging with each other and building community.
Let's increase careers that can help people further how they would increase their storytelling capacity in whatever, right? And if that becomes coding the game or, drawing a picture or singing a song, then wonderful. I think the arts do so much for us as a culture.
Right.
And who do we want to be in 100, 500 years? Are we going to be a civilization? No, right? We're going to be a civilization that uses our brains more and communicates more.
Right.
And so we've got a lot of different communication avenues so I'm getting older. I'm 38 and I played with, wooden block toys when I was a kid. Right. Mm-hmm. So I have seen communication grow.
Right. And imagination, having that imagination and
exactly
relying on that, instead of having something kind of create your imagination that you look at, mm-hmm. It's you have to kind of conjure up your own storyline and your own fantasy in your head. That's kind of the big difference too. With, how kids are today compared to how they were when we grew up, it was just we didn't have so much accessibility to diversions mm-hmm. from going inside. Mm-hmm. And now we need to get back there. We need to go internal. We need to go into ourselves and explore that more because that's where our essence comes from. That's where we can really connect with each other too.
I think at one point in my life, I just wanted to be a flower farmer because I saw these pictures in Holland of these huge swaths of yellow flowers next to purple flowers, next to red flowers, next to blue flowers. And I thought, how great a workplace would that be?
Yeah, it's you're creating a painting.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, that's a flower industry. People, buy those at the market every day and they get shipped, a lot around the world straight from the Netherlands. And so again, if that's a passion, then run after it.
Right.
If farming something's a passion, run after it. But how do we allow people to follow their passions more? I kind of enjoyed this. People are gonna, if they ever listen to this, people are gonna comment on this. I kind of enjoyed the Russian school system, whereby 5th grade, they were okay, you're obviously not good at math, right? Or if you were a tiny girl who was anything athletic at all, it's okay, you're gonna go into the gymnastics program. Right. And this may have been very structured and not have too many avenues to it. But I liked the idea that education was also saying, you know what, not everyone's the same.
Aren't they kind of going in that direction now? Like everywhere, isn't it kind of starting to shift into that a little bit?
Like in a K through 12?
Yeah, maybe not. Still pretty structured.
I know some great schools that have electives. There's great schools that have after school programs, and I took different ones of that. I took theater, I took band, I did track, and there was that. But I still left high school like wondering, like, okay, here's a basic set of skills that you've taught me on like chemistry, you know, like, what am I gonna do with
real life skills?
Yeah. How do you maybe, and that would take a lot more guidance counselors and a lot more activity of like, how do you find each kid's passion, you know? And like, at the time I was reading tons and tons of science fiction books and comic books, and at the same time also, you know, getting into drinking and drugs. But like, you know, if there was maybe
go hand in hand.
Right. Yeah. You know,
anyway,
magic missile.
Sorry to interrupt. Okay.
But, like, you know, like I certainly had, and maybe that's why I was saying storytelling earlier, because that is one thing that I enjoy, right? Creating a story for someone else or relating the stories of my past experiences. You know, there's so much more to be learned, to be gained, and knowledge to be shared out there.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, hopefully at some point in the future of humanity, we're going to find ways to find people's passion and help them ignite it and help nurture it and help support it, so that we're not just like locked into these few set avenues.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, you know, I think with this podcast, it's going to be really, you know, beneficial to all 5 of our viewers or listeners, where it's going to help you go inside and try to figure out, am I happy? Am I happy with where I'm at in my life? Am I doing what I want to be doing? And what, you know, what are my fears with really pushing back and trying something new? And that's the thing, is we're so, you know, even as children, we're programmed to fear so much. We're you know, don't cross the street because you might get hit by a car. Well, that's a rational fear. Like, you should look both ways. But then there's the irrational fears, like, you know, you better go to college because if you don't get a degree, you're not going to be able to find a job, and then you'll be homeless on the streets. And, you know, the only way that would go that direction is if you really wanted it to go that direction. We all have the capability of really doing anything. It's just, is there the passion behind it? Yeah. Because if you lack passion, you lack drive and motivation. And, you know, it's finding that thing that you have the drive and motivation to succeed at, and then you won't fail because you'll keep trying.
So some of the people that we're going to be interviewing have gone to the extreme left. And so maybe by listening to some people that have gone to the extreme left, you can find a turn or two you can take on your own. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to having conversations about this. I think it's going to be really just healing, beneficial thing for everybody, you know, just being able to talk about this out loud and know that there's other people that feel the same way.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there who don't find the satisfaction of going through the wheel.
Right.
Being a cog, you know?
Yeah.
And I like listening to, and again, maybe they were forced into it in a different way. Maybe they weren't able to be a part of that whole system, but.
Yeah, it's like John Lennon said to his teacher when she had them do, she had them write down what they want to be when they grow up. Mm-hmm. And he said, I want to be happy. And she said, you didn't understand the lesson. And he said, you don't understand life.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You know, it's like, I want to be happy. If you're not happy, why do you keep doing the same thing?
TheOuterFringe was recorded at Triii-Point Studios. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved.